Well, this one might go down as being one of the quickest reviews I've ever really done. I listened to this album on a little bit of a road trip over the weekend, and yeah, I pretty much have my mind made up for this one. Yeah, let's dive in.
Send a message to the Tower of Babel. Probably out of office, but thanks for your call.
Auto Reconnaissance by The Tangent. So, The Tangent is a retro prog outfit, kind of spearheaded by Andy Tellison. They got their start back in the early 2000s with the help of Roland Stolt with their first two albums, Music That Died Alone and The World That We Drive Through. These two albums kind of skyrocketed them on the prog sphere, but honestly, for me, it was a place in the queue where Roland finally took a step back and Andy Tellison definitely took a step forward in being the main producer, the main visionary for the albums from then on. And A Place in the Queue is still probably my favorite album from them. And pretty much ever since then, it's been a spotty, very, very spotty track record for The Tangent. Either I love the album or I do not. And like, for example, Down and Out in Paris and London and Calm, I spun maybe 2 or 3 times and I'm like, nope, not for me. Not for me. Then Le Trac to Travail. Loved their 2013 album. Just brilliant. I still think it might be one of my favorite albums from them. A Spark in the Ether, The Music That Died Alone Part 2, and Slow Rust of Forgotten Machinery. I did not like at all these two albums. I just could not get on board with what Andy was doing with these ones. But then Andy actually took a little bit of a backseat on Proxy, their 2018 album, where he left all the production work and all the mixing and mastering work to somebody else, because up to that point he had kind of maintained control over that. And I actually really, really liked Proxy. Maybe not quite as much as Le Sacre Travail, but I definitely thought it was streets and worlds ahead of the previous two albums. So where do we come with Auto Reconnaissance? Do we emulate those brilliant albums of the past, such as Le Trac to Travail, Proxy, and then the other albums, not as good as The Book and A Place in the Queue? Or are we looking at another Down and Out in Paris and London, Calm, Spark in the Ether, and A Slow Rush of Forgotten Machinery? Well, it looks like we're following suit with the one on, two off mentality. And now we're followed up with, unfortunately, a dud with Auto Reconnaissance. It's interesting. As I was listening to this album, there was a voice in the back of my head that was going, oh, this is why people don't like progressive rock and why they don't like prog. Now, I do want to shout out some of the key players that we have on here. Obviously, Andy Tellison is still a great constructor of music. He's a great composer. He does a great weaving of a narrative story within his songs and constructing a great track. Helping him out, we have Jonas Ringgold, one of my favorite bass players coming from Flower Kings, providing his bass lines on here, even though they don't really translate all that well. Knowing what Jonas can do on the bass, I feel like he's not used properly. I honestly don't. Then, of course, we have fan favorite of Theo Travis. Theo's been with the band for a long, long time. He's also been with Steven Wilson on tour. He's been with the Shaft Machine in this decade. And I love whenever he comes to the forefront, because there are a number of points on this track and this album where he really breathes new life that I've been begging for within this album. Because honestly, coming in at 78 minutes, almost 80 minutes, this album, for the first part, is just way too long. And I feel like the two big tracks off of this album don't go anywhere. And this is where I'm thinking, this is why people don't like prog. Andy has painted himself into a very, very comfortable box that I almost want to say he's very hesitant to leave. Like, he does leave it every once in a while on other albums like Le Sac de Travail as well as Proxy, but here he is like firmly set himself back in that box and he is not letting go of controls. The two big tracks off of this album, we have Jinxed in Jersey, which is another travel log, very similar to the Lost in London suite, where, you know, he's just kind of bumbling around. It is definitely a travel log in that. I just feel like it doesn't go anywhere. Like, it's a great travel log and it's a great diary entry, but I don't feel anything happening, and there's no big crescendo after this 16-minute Goliath of a track. Same with Lie Back and Think of England, the 28-minute track where it ends on In Earnest from A Place in the Queue, which I like, as I was sitting there and listening to this track, I was just like, oh, okay, they're revisiting In Earnest, you know, one of my favorite tracks from The Tangent. Like, it's a very heartfelt track. It's a very meaningful track to me. A very beautiful track. They're okay. They're revisiting a little bit. Oh, they're continuing it. Okay. Yeah, they're playing it out with this. Oh, interesting move. It felt like, I mean, it worked a little bit within the structure of the song and what the song was trying to do, but I also feel like it didn't capture what it was meant to, if you know what I mean. Like, it didn't quite grab me. It almost felt like they ran out of things to say and they didn't know where to go. They painted themselves into a corner, and so they just slapped in Earnest. And I'm like, why? The other four tracks, Life on Hold, Under Your Spell, The Tower of Babel, and The Midas Touch, they don't go anywhere for me. I feel like they're just kind of rehashing ideas from the two bigger tracks. And yeah, when it came down to the bonus track, I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I can't spend any more time on this. I'd rather go back and listen to some of the other albums that I really want to spend some time on. This is just another Tangent album that I've already heard without really needing to listen to. So, I mean, yeah, that's all I have to say. Honestly, this is one that I would skip. I wouldn't really waste my time with this one. I would honestly recommend going back and revisiting Proxy, go back and revisit Le Trac de Travail, even go and check out A Spark in the Ether, right? Like, that album, even though might be a little bit of a dud, it still captures some of that really fun creative aspects that I love from The Tangent. This album doesn't have any of that. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about Auto Reconnaissance from The Tangent. Disappointed, but not surprised, unfortunately. So yeah, what did you guys think? I know I'm probably in the minority for this one, but let me know. Let me know of your own thoughts about this album. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know by commenting down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.
The area, they wanted to see the real place.
And after that, it's like, hey man, you want some weed? This is really cool.
And I spent a good 10 minutes having a nice chat with them and then decided